putting together dust collection throat plate kits to be shipped out. This is for the DWS 779 and 780 from DeWALT. I got a couple updates, a couple revisions that I wanted to relay to those of you who have already bought it or are thinking about purchasing it. First of all, what the heck is a dust collection throat plate? That's something that I've created over the last year or so that traps the material that comes off the front half of your blade, goes down underneath the table of the saw itself, and ends up on the floor or shoots out behind the saw or whatever it is. It's a way to route that back to the rear of the saw and then get sucked up with vacuum in this case here. So we have a rear half and we have a front half. I did a whole video on this explaining the install and the benefits and everything else, but just as a refresher, these are gonna install just like this. It is a direct replacement for your factory throat plate. The throat plate is the part that the blade comes down into, in case you don't know. Now built into that is this shroud. And this shroud is going to carry the blade and all its debris is going to shoot that back to the rear. The rear has a spot here for a vacuum port. This vacuum port screws down onto here just like this. From there, it will carry away the debris through this tube. Just like that, tube gets inserted here. So it'll install like this and it'll be routed back up here. At the other end of that tube, we have a vacuum adapter. This is where some of the changes are. That vacuum adapter also has a female here, and now you have a complete system. This port here is for your aftermarket dust collection system that would mount behind the blade, which we do not supply. For the changes, so here's the thing. This vacuum port, remember this is what mounts to the rear here and helps carry away that debris. It was always kind of sized this way, and I originally had sized it for 5/8 inside diameter hose because I thought, man, that's a pretty substantial amount of debris we can suck out of there. But as I was developing and testing, I realized we didn't need this much hose. This smaller 1/2 inch outside diameter hose is plenty for sawdust. But there were some concerns after we started kind of releasing this thing out into the wild that it could possibly clog, especially for you that are cutting like composites and stuff that kind of has a melting point and sort of clumps together as it leaves the saw, that maybe this small hose wouldn't be able to carry away, it would get gummed up or clogged, and then that would become a problem. Well, the adapter, remember the adapter goes on the other end of this. The original version was made out of a squishy material we call TPU. Well, we don't call it that, that's just what it's called. The idea there was that it would stretch and be able to conform to a wider variety of vacuum hoses. And because of that, we had a little bridge right here. That bridge has since been removed, which means that we can now fit the larger diameter hose both on the vacuum adapter and over the vacuum port. So this is going to give you about as maximum amount of suction down here and clearance for larger or sort of combined debris that happens to go through there. So for some of you that might be seen as an improvement. We do not supply the larger hose. We are still going to supply it with the smaller diameter hose because I have not had issues with it yet. If we start hearing that there's a bunch of problems, maybe we'll kind of look into that a little bit further. But for now, it's still going to ship with the smaller diameter hose. You can pick this hose up at any hardware store. It'll come in a roll of some sort or a chunk of some sort. Heck, you might even have some laying around the shop. So now that'll open it up quite a bit. Keep in mind though, we don't want to take any more vacuum from your main unit as necessary. I kind of think that as much suction as this part can get, the better off you are. So I wouldn't necessarily jump up to this unless you have a problem. Let's see, there was I do know what else. So this, other than fitting specific size vacuum hoses, so you have 2.5 inch dust collection hose on the outside, that would be like the coiled hose that you would see coming off of a dust collector, not a vacuum or extractor. That'll go on the outside. On the inside of this outer ring, you can put any standard 2.5 inch shop vac hose. In the inside of this inner ring, now you have 1 7/8 and Festool 36mm hose will all fit on here. So this is completely universal. I personally wouldn't want to run a miter saw on anything less than say the 36mm or the 1 7/8. They are tapered. The outside is not, but the inside rings are all tapered slightly so that it gets a nice compression fit, if you will, to most vacuum hoses that you'd be wanting to run on a miter saw. Now, I didn't design these to work with any specific application or any other manufacturer. That was never the intent. I actually sized this end. So this is the end that would plug into your aftermarket dust collection behind the blade back here. I originally sized this as 1 5/8 inches, and it still is 1 5/8 inches with a very slight taper. The reason is because when I was building my prototype here, I was using 1 5/8 inches. I wanted it to play well with my stuff, obviously, but also 1 5/8 inches is the factory port on the DeWALT saws is 1 5/8 inches. So my theory was, if I make these at 1 5/8 inches, you guys would be able to use any kind of adapters that were necessary in your situation that you already bought to fit your stock setup. You'd still be able to use them with this setup if you needed to. Ironically, Shop Nation and Benchtop Woodworks also have a claimed 1 5/8 inches outside diameter here, but we're hearing reports that the newer Shop Nation stuff is smaller. So we've had some pictures sent in and stuff where the hose cuff just falls down in there. But what we're doing as a courtesy is we're actually putting in an adapter into the kit. I've had a couple people try these and they say that they work good enough at least. You still may need some sort of tape or something, but this little reducer sleeve is meant to fill that gap because now the Shop Nation version is a little bit undersized. Again, this is not something you should leave a bad review on if it doesn't fit. This is purely a courtesy. I don't personally own the Shop Nation version, so I can't tell you that it's the right size or not. This is just based on some customer feedback that we had. We had a couple people help us try to size these out so we could just print them and throw them in there because the Shop Nation one's definitely the most popular by far. And apparently it's a change that they made on their end. I'm not sure. But again, this was never meant specifically to fit their stuff. So just keep that in mind before you start leaving nasty comments and reviews that our stuff doesn't play perfectly with their stuff. What else? The pre-order is almost done. So we had this on a pre-order with a 4 to 6 week lead time. We haven't used that 4 to 6 weeks, I don't believe. We had a couple delays, a couple little hiccups, but for the most part, everything's been running smooth. We're almost out of the pre-order, meaning the pre-order is almost done. We're almost ready to just throw them on the website and you can just buy them at your leisure. We put that pre-order on there because I didn't know what the demand would be and I didn't want to have, say, 100 orders come in and I'm sitting here making 2 a day. That would take forever. We'd get some angry emails and calls from people saying like, hey, where's my stuff? So that's why we put them on the pre-order to begin with, even though they had already been shipped, because we've had a couple people question that. I think that is it. As of this recording, I'm shipping out 17 today. And then I think I have about 12 to 20-ish more that are still pre-order sales. And then after that, we'll throw them on Etsy and we'll just remove the pre-order designation from the website. I feel like there was one more thing. Again, the adapters changed, the hose size, and we put the little sleeve in there. I think that's about it. Anyways, if you want more information, I'll link that video down below, the original video, to this whole setup. You can see kind of the benefits and what it's all about, how to install it and everything else. Otherwise, if you have bought one of these, if you've used them, or if you've used the one for the 716, the DW or DWS 716, or the setup that we also now have for the 715, the DWS 715, leave a comment. Let everybody know how well it did or didn't work for you. That would be awesome. Or leave a review on the website or Etsy or wherever you bought it from. That helps us a lot and it helps the community a lot because they know what the heck they're getting into. Anyways, I think that's all I got for you guys. We'll see you in the next video.